Hey, this is Ash, and this is how to hook up a microphone in a theater for non-technical people. Well, the first thing we should do is probably turn on our sound mixer. Now here, what we do is turn on the mixer first, and then the rack. Mixer first, then the rack. Now the power down procedure is exactly the opposite of that. Rack, then the board. So when you turn it on, mixer, then the rack. To turn it off, it's the rack, and then the mixer. Cool. Let's take a quick look at the mixer before we start hooking up microphones. Alright, the first thing that we need to do is make sure all of our faders are down. Nice. Now that all of our faders are down, we can start plugging in mics. It's always a good idea to make sure that your faders are down so you don't accidentally plug something in and it starts just blasting audio through the sound system. Always double check first to make sure your levels are down before you start plugging stuff in. It's just a good rule. So do it! Let's go down to the stage and plug in a mic. So this is the microphone that you'll probably be using. This is a Shure SM58. It's the king of stage mics. Or you'll probably be using one that looks very similar to this. Let's get our mic cable. This is our XLR cable. This is what the microphone plugs into. If you look underneath your mic, you'll see 3 pins. And you'll see that that corresponds to 3 pins on your microphone cable. This is an XLR cable. So from now on, I'm going to be calling this an XLR cable. Just know that 3 pins is a mic cable. XLR. Plug it in. Oh yeah. Alright. That's the easy part. Okay, now that you got your microphone cable plugged in, we have to run it somewhere. So, come with me. So over here on the stage right wing, we have our patch panel, and it says microphone patch. This is where you're going to plug in your XLR cable. So let's take a closer look. So on our patch panel, you'll see that these are labeled 1 through 8. And these will correspond directly to the channels on the sound mixer. So if we take our XLR cable, we can plug it directly into, say, channel 1. Now this will be on channel 1 up on the mixer. So channels 1 through 8 are here on this patch panel on the stage right side. Now we have 8 more on the other side, remember, because we have 16 channels coming in. Let's go take a look over there. Okay, so over here on the stage left wing we have another patch panel. Now if you see, we already have things plugged in. These first 8 cables that are plugged into this box are the channels from the stage right wing. So if for whatever reason you wanted to run your mic cables to the stage left wing, you can start on channel 9 and continue on through channel 16. Now it doesn't matter which XLR port you plug into, just remember that the numbers here and on stage right will correspond to the numbers on the board. Okay, now that we've got our microphone plugged in on the stage, let's take a look at the board. Remember, we plugged into channel 1 on the patch panel, so that's going to correspond to channel 1 here on the board. Let's take a closer look. Okay, here's a close-up of the first few channels. Here's channel 1, all the way here to the left. Now before we start doing anything, we need to make sure that this mute button is pushed out. When this button is pushed in, the red light comes on and it mutes this channel so no sound is coming out of it. So we need to unmute it so it's punched out. The red light is off, so we're good to go. Let's go take a look up the top. At the very, very top of your channel is a knob that says gain. Right now we're going to turn that all the way down to 0 before we start turning up the mic levels. But before we go any further, let's make sure that we have our master main levels back up to 0. Okay, to set mic level, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put channel 1's fader up to 0. Now why do you do that? Well, 0 is unity. There is actually a big complicated way of explaining this, but you're non-technical people, so I'm not going to bother. To get good, clean audio, set it to 0, and then we'll adjust the gain to actually turn up the microphone. Trust me, it works. Just do it! Now, as they're doing the sound check, gently start turning up the gain until you get the volume that you desire. Check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Test check. Check 1 2. Check check check. There you go. Now that the gain is set, you still have enough room on your mixer to go higher or lower if you need to. But the 0 is just kind of like your base mark, your point of reference. So you still have headroom this way, and if you need to bring it down, you have plenty of room to do that. So here are some common reasons why you might not be getting sound out of your mixer when you first do this. The first thing you need to check is to make sure that the microphone is actually plugged into the right channels, both on the stage and here. Now if someone has come into the booth and started pulling out cables and putting them back in again, on the back here, these XLR cables, they're labeled. So this one says channel 1, so it's going into channel 1 on the board. The first thing you need to look for is to make sure that the channel is unmuted. If it's muted, you're not going to get any sound out of it. Something else you might want to look for is each channel has these buttons here that assign it to a mix. We're using the LR, that stands for left and right, and those are your main outs that go to your main speakers. Make sure that is pushed in. Another reason why you might not be getting audio is the rack is not turned on. You may have turned on the mixer, but not the rack. The rack contains the amplifiers. They amplify sound, that makes things loud. They have to be on. If you are getting sound and it's really feeding back and squelching and screaming like a lunatic, back down the gain just a little bit. A little bit of gain adjustment will go a long, long way. Alright, you've got your microphone plugged in, you got the levels set, and it's working. Now just repeat that process for all the other mics you're going to be using and you'll be good to go. Okay, there are hundreds of reasons why you might not be getting audio out of your microphone, but we covered the most common problems. Just remember to keep cool and retrace your steps and you'll bound to find out what's up. Let's recap. Make sure all of your faders are set to 0. Connect the XLR cable into your microphone. Connect the other end of the XLR cable into one of the patch panels. Bring your master left-right faders up to 0. Bring your mic channel fader up to 0. Gently turn the gain knob until the desired volume is reached. Then repeat for your other microphones. So I hope this video helps, so go out with your show and break a leg. Or 2.